In this video, I'll go over some key factors you should know about the items you would pull in the middle of the pack. Some of these items are triple versions of the items showcased in the video going over the top spot items, so I won't be going over how the base item works. If you haven't already, you should probably check out my video going over the top spot items. The link is in the description and at the end of the video. But without further ado, let's start giving her, bud. Just before getting started, if you enjoy this video, consider subscribing. It's free. It helps me out a lot, and you can always change your mind. Well, there's not a lot to talk about here. The Blooper is honestly the worst item in the game. While you could use it in the same valuable way as the coin, like holding it in case of a ghost or until you want to surprise hit someone, the Blooper is way less common. In fact, it's probably the most uncommon item in the game. However, what makes the Blooper different in this game is the off-road effect. You may have noticed that your drifting gets nerfed pretty heavily, but did you know that the Blooper has the same off-road effect as traction tracks like Dry Desert and Neo Bowser City? If you know how to drive those tracks, keep that style of driving in mind when a Blooper comes through. The fire flower is a pretty unique item, as the allotted time for how long you can throw fire depends on how you use your item. It's pretty neat. I feel like in most cases, you shouldn't spam your fire flower if you want to use it to the best of its ability. Now, that's not to say you should never spam it. Spamming works if you need to get rid of it before the next item set. But if you're using fire to try and hit people or play defensive, do not spam it. If you use, say, 2 or 3 fireballs at a time, you could have it for a good chunk of time. A big reason why you shouldn't spam your fire is also because you can use it as protection. You could possibly block up to 4 reds if the guy behind you has them. Now, obviously, this is a bit of a rare scenario, especially because you will likely pull fire in spots 6 through 8. But that doesn't take away from the fact that this item is a solid way to protect yourself. And something I really like on the receiving end of a fire flower is that if you're close enough to your opponent online, the fire will go right through you. This isn't the best example, as this is a 2-player room and we're both Canadian, so it isn't as laggy as your average room. But if you find yourself in drafting or just behind drafting range from someone in front of you with fire, if you stay right behind them, there's a good chance you won't get hit. Now, obviously, if it's a wide section, you should probably just stay away from the guy to begin with, but this can be a very reliable way to protect yourself. The Boomerang has quite a few uses, mainly due to the fact that you have up to 3 tosses. It can be used pretty similarly to the Fire Flower, despite the 2 items being very different. Just like the Fire Flower, you can also stay close behind an opponent with a Boomerang, and because of online lag, it will likely go right through you. Again, try to be in drafting or just behind drafting range, and if it's a wide section, just stay out of the way. But either way, this is a very reliable way to avoid getting boomeranged. One of the Boomerang's signature features is the last throw. It'll go a lot farther than usual, and you can take advantage of that. This isn't the best example, but you could toss it on a massive straight and hit someone pretty far ahead of you, so take advantage of that. And you could also do some pretty interesting things when chaining a Boomerang into item boxes. If you only have a Boomerang and chain into a single, you'll get a new item, but keep your Boomerang and it'll be in your pocket with the number of throws you have left. If you have a Boomerang and another item and chain into a single, or if you only have a Boomerang and chain into a double, you'll lose your Boomerang. Just keep these factors in mind and you'll be given her full throttle. The Piranha Plant can either be a pretty cool item to get, or it can be a complete slap in the face depending on what item you have in your pocket. But for what it's worth, let's talk about what the plant can do. One thing I really like about the plant is that you can use it to take some shortcuts. Shortcuts like the Shy Guy Falls ending cut are just another day in the office to make with a plant. Shortcuts are one thing, but the point here is you can really use the boost from the plant to your advantage. Now, it's worth noting that landing a hit with a plant isn't a huge deal unless you plant someone off. So stop trolling honestly isn't the greatest idea. However, unless you already planned out your attack, I also wouldn't suggest running a plant. If you didn't plan in advance, you'll likely get hit by the plant. The point here is, while the plant isn't the greatest offensive item, you can still do something with it, even if it's you getting hit. So just be careful. And just one last thing, do not back up with the plant. This may seem like common knowledge, but backing up could be a nightmare for you if you feel like you need to. Just drive forward and use the plant's boost to your advantage. That's really the best thing you can do if you, say, need another item or 2. Now, here we are with the triple items. From here on out, the items I'll be going over are all triples, so I won't dive into what the base item can do. Again, if you want to know what the base item can do, check out my video on the top spot items. Triple bananas can be decent for stop trolling. While your opponents will keep their momentum, this is still a decent option, and you could get into the opposing team's head in a 6v6. Just be aware that shells are more powerful than bananas, so stop trolling with triple bananas isn't always the best option. With triple bananas revolving around you, you have a very nice coat of protection. If you're playing in lounge, I'd suggest holding onto these if you're stuck in the pack. And just in general, it's 3 bananas, which could mean 3 protection items if you want to use them as such. And if you want to take advantage of your bananas, do not spam them all back. It's pretty much useless unless you really want another item. There's not too much else to mention here. If you want to use triple bananas to the best of your ability, backing them all at once is not the play. This goes for at least 2 shells, but what I really like about triple greens is that if you don't want them, if you spam them all together, 2 of them will collide, meaning if you use all 3, you'll only have to worry about 1 on the track. Obviously, this isn't a problem if you can back them safely, but if your only option is to throw your greens forward, which you could encounter in a war, this is a pretty reliable option. Triple greens is a very powerful item in the pack, whether you're using them for protection or for aggression. But if you have a lot of space to yourself with triple greens revolving, it is jackpot. Now, you don't want that space to be in the very back, and you don't want to hold on to your greens when you could get even farther away from the pack, but triple greens provide comfort, and that is a feel-good moment. For these reasons, I'd suggest not wasting triple greens when you get them. This is a pretty powerful item if you pull it anywhere but in the back, so you should almost always have some way you can use this item to your advantage. Just like triple bananas, wasting them by, say, spamming them all back for no particular reason is not a good option. Hell, in some scenarios, you might even be wise to hold them rather than get a new item at the following set. Something really important to remember with triple reds is that when you throw them forward, it's important to space them out. Obviously, you're not going to stop in place as I do here, but this is a good representation as to how long you should wait before trying to hit your opponent again. You don't want to let these suckers go to waste. On the flip side, don't ever spam your reds immediately unless you need a new item. While spacing out with reds is one thing, it's important to remember that this is a very powerful item given how difficult it is to break reds without protection in this game. Whatever purpose you're using these reds for, don't ever spam them immediately unless you actually need a new item. And out of all of the items discussed in this video so far, stop trolling is the best if you have triple reds. This is because not only are you stop trolling with shells, but even if people get around you, you can just red them. If you want to give your team a breakaway, stop trolling with triple reds is what you gotta do. While there are quite a few items that can mess up your plans, that's the case with all stop troll items discussed in this video, so be aware of the risk to reward factor when stop trolling. Triple mushrooms give you the opportunity to take some cool shortcuts that you couldn't do with one mushroom. You can really take advantage of this, so even if you get this over the item you wanted originally, don't sweat it. You have some great uses for triple mushrooms, mainly in the various shortcuts in this game. I think it's very important not to spam, or more importantly, waste your mushrooms. Triple mushrooms can help you out quite a bit in most scenarios, especially when finishing the race, as having a mushroom for recovery in case you get hit is always a good thing. So please, do yourself a favor and don't waste your mushrooms. They could help you out a lot. And one last thing to mention is that if you want to, say, chain into the next set and don't care what spot you get a box in, or you just want to get all the boost you can out of your mushrooms, spacing out your usage is the best way to go. It's nothing too special and is a pretty obvious thing. But again, chaining into an item set. If you don't care what spot you get a box in, take advantage of the shroom boost. Every little bit helps you to get farther in the race. I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you'd like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. And be sure to tune in next Wednesday as I close out this short series with the bottom spot items. I've heard from a few of you that you were interested to see what I'd have to say about those items, so look forward to that. But until next time, thank you so much for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic day and keep on giving her, bud.